All right, hello, Vic.
Hey, Allison.
Hi. So, could you start by sharing with folks your name and your current position?
Sure. So my name is Vic Kapoor, and I'm an ADR attorney advisor for FEMA.
And tell us a little bit about what attracted you to this position and how you got there.
Sure. So I actually started off dealing with mediation ADR very young, in sixth grade. I was doing Model United Nations, and so I was representing the United States in the General Assembly in New York. And there's all this shuttle diplomacy, and I realized that that's really what I want to do with my life. I want to be able to broker deals, work with people who have different issues, and try to get them to come to terms. And so that led me to a progressively, long-winded way to get to ADR as a practitioner. And so went to law school, did the whole formal litigation route for a very brief period of time because I was told that was the good advice it was told good advice to follow that path. And for me, I mean, right now I'm an ADR attorney advisor for FEMA, and my job really is quite diverse. It's conflict coaching, facilitating meetings, reorganizations, change management, a lot of OD work, and it's really quite phenomenal. I mean, the diversity available to ADR field in general is fantastic, and so being able to do that for the government is a great experience.
That's amazing. So, just in this one position, you're actually able to practice in a number of different disciplines under the ADR umbrella. What else do you like about your current position?
I like that it's very collaborative. There's a lot of teaching and learning going on. You bring in sort of cognitive psychotherapy and grief therapy, and you're looking at change management at a high level. So there's a lot of, conflict kind of permeates throughout a company in different ways, and so people lose their jobs, they get promoted, so all these things kind of impact the organizational culture, and looking at it from that perspective is really interesting. I did the whole court mediation thing before law school. I was captain of Georgetown's mediation team for a bit. So I understand the sort of the general traditional terms of mediation and the process there. And truth be told, we don't do a lot of that where I am right now. There is a little bit of it, but it's not as formal. A lot of it's like group mediation almost, and it's you're working with an entire unit that has issues with their boss or things like that. And so really understanding dynamics at that level, and just the idea of being able to learn something new every day. I mean, positive psychology is something that sort of permeates throughout my practice. And I know someone else, I think Donna, on one of your earlier interviews, mentioned positive psych, and it's just so valuable to me right now because there are so many ways you can reframe something, even as a ADR practitioner. And a lot of times when somebody comes to you and says, I really don't want to work here anymore and I hate my life. And you can reframe that and say, I hear you saying you have trouble with your boss and you're trying to make strides, but you can also be much more positive and say, I hear that you care deeply about your role in the organization and you're really trying to make an effort to improve that. And so just shifting the focus a little bit to that actually leads to a lot of positivity, and that's what I really love about my job is being able to explore those kinds of ideas in a big way.
That's really cool. So you're saying even if you're not running a specific sort of finite, discrete process known as mediation, you've done that. But even if you're not doing that, you're using all of these skills to affect that change and to help others work through their conflict.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it all sort of, for me, it stemmed from that Model UN experience. You have this active listening, you're speaking, in front of people, you're trying to persuade, and that's exactly what ADR taught me too. Active listening in the courts, and as well, and that's how you, as a 21-year-old trying to broker disputes between people who are double or triple your age, you really have to learn, to really stand your ground and present, good solutions and sort of work with people in caucus quite a bit, and all of that comes in my current job because we'll have a week-long facilitation, for instance, and you've got like sort of conversations going on in the middle during lunch and things like that, and people are reorganizing, and there's meetings that are structured for months and months and months, and you've got these recurring relationships. And there's a lot of playing with things on the board and moving things around and trying to help people understand how the pieces fit, and so the soft skills that you learn sort of in the process of becoming an ADR practitioner really pay off in an organizational environment.
So, Vic, as others might be watching this and thinking about starting a career in ADR, what advice would you give to them?
So I think there's no tried and tested route to get there. I think everybody sort of gets there at their own pace in their own way. I hear people, winning essay contests, national essay contests to the Ombuds Association, and I also hear people getting mentors. I worked on the Dispute Resolution Council as a student liaison, so a national student liaison for 2 years, and I really bootstrapped that up and made some amazing mentorship connections and actually a sponsorship connection. Inga Watkins is one of basically has come out of nowhere and really helped me. Make great strides in my career by connecting me to the right people and really, sort of paving the path by, coaching me. And I think, there are a number of other people, Howard Herman, and so many people in the council who really went out of their way early on in my career to, say, look, this guy is really trying hard and it's tough and it could take a long time, but let's try to help him. And so, writing a little bit, sort of getting involved, volunteering, developing your own plan, because ADR is quite broad itself. As as I spoke about earlier, it's you could have organizational development components. Other people talk about mediation or setting up clinics. Really understanding early on what kind of ADR you like. Do you like arbitration? Do you like counseling? You like coaching or mediation? And all these things kind of play into sort of where you want to go and how to get there. But I think you gotta just keep trying over and over again. You gotta try to present where you can, try to go to events, and it's awkward in the beginning. It's tough. Sometimes it feels discouraging, but at the end of the day, just remember that there's only it's a small group of people. They love each other. They're very collaborative, and they want to help you. And so just try to get out there and meet as many as you can.
That is fantastic. It is a small community. We do tend to love each other a lot and try to support each other as much as possible. So, moment of truth. You and I were talking a little bit before this interview started that you did spend some time practicing law prior to this current position. And you just mentioned that that was the advice you got. You needed to have some litigation experience. You took that advice and did get that experience. I'm wondering if you could talk just a little bit about why you think that made you more prepared for your current position, or what about your background best set you up for success in your current position.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think those are very fair questions. So I'll just give you an anecdote very quickly. I was in Paris with Georgetown's mediation team, and we were representing various parties throughout this competition. And I became friends with some of the mediators, and I sort of talked to them sort of offline about how we were doing our performance vis-a-vis reality. And they all kind of just chuckled and said, "Oh, you guys are so diplomatic and polite. I don't think you really understand what the process is about, right?" There's actually mediators that have to spend a lot of time just calming people down or sort of organizing thoughts and offers and things like that, and you don't really see that in the academic setting as much, and I didn't see that as much in the courts either, because people maybe were not that emotionally attached, or there might not be as much dollar figures or whatever it is. But actually going to work as a litigator and being told all day long that your arguments make no sense and that you have no business being in court, and you're never going to win, and then you walk away with millions of dollars at the end and you say, "Oh really, I really wasn't going to win, huh?" And so the mediation that you learn in that context really, it allows you to understand that it's not all happy-go-lucky all the time. People are going to scream and yell. People are going to walk out of mediation, and you're going to have to repair that relationship and get the settlement done down the road. There's a lot of sort of backdoor discussions that are going on, and underpinning all of that is, how good is your case? Have you developed the case? Have you scared the other side? Have you propounded discovery? Have you developed the motion practice? So understanding what people go through before they get to the mediation table. I really didn't have that perspective until I did this couple years of litigation. And so that's really, you can do that other ways. You can talk to litigators. You can better understand the parties' needs as you go along. And a lot of people, admittedly, who we've interviewed have not, they've not expressed a goal of mediating full-time per se. But those who might want to mediate full-time, one avenue is certainly maybe not 10 years of litigation experience. I've heard that advice, and I understand maybe that's a little bit too much, but a couple of years, or at least having a chance to have an interaction with the Inns of Court or litigators in other ways, will help color your judgment when you actually end up, because otherwise you're going to be in for a ride. The first couple mediations are going to be a trip, actually, because they're not what you learned in school, and they're not really what you might expect them to be. And some of us get experience in foreclosure mediation programs or other kinds of clinical programs, and understandably there is emotion there. It's a serious issue for people. But when you're talking about developing complex class action litigation, and a lot of times when they're paying you that $10,000 or $20,000 a day as a mediator for jams or whatever it is, they're expecting you to have this substantive background, this understanding of what this case really might be worth. And I think at some level, a couple of years of litigation might give you that.
Well, I think we'll leave it there, and I appreciate your honesty about how your litigation experience did assist you in getting a job in ADR with FEMA, and I appreciate you sharing that it was with just 2 years of experience, so you were able to move in. You didn't need to get those 10 years or even go all the way to becoming the retired judge that we always hear about. And so I want to say thank you for spending the time to share with folks a little bit about your story and a little bit different story than the other ones that we're hearing on the website.
Of course, yeah. Thank you for having me.
Right on. Thanks so much, Vic.
Sure.